What's up, YouTube? This is likely 10 minutes from that video that I was expecting to post on my page. It hopefully would be somewhere if I actually do it, kind of like along the lines where you click on like, I don't know, my channel or like searching videos on my channel and such. Anyways, who knows if that's relevant? We'll find out, right? You'll probably see for yourself. Hey, so today I'm gonna make a quick video and it's something I just recall a past couple months of myself and going through my own experiences, um, astrological experiences, maybe from within the self more than anything else, right? And today's video is more or less about Pluto. Now, Pluto is in fact a outer planet in the Western astrology, because that's what we'll be doing right now. Western, the good old wheel. The circle denotes the circulation of power. Anyways, so yeah, outer planet Pluto. Pluto being of transformation, death, rebirth. Ruler is Scorpio, the constellation of Scorpio. And so we likely could see that Scorpio has similar, if not the same, attributes. And so, depending on where your constellation placements are, where Pluto is in the aspects, you may be a Plutonian yourself. Now, there are attributes to Plutonians that kind of give ourselves away, right? We, as Plutonians, can be very dark. We can be a little critical. We could be, there's a form of possibly narcissism depending on like who we are. We might have gone through a lot of trauma as kids, a lot of trauma. Um, I don't need to go into the trauma. If I had to name a few, it could be almost getting into a car crash. That's not necessarily me being light because these are just words, right? The experience speaks more for itself, right? I could almost get into a car crash and it's no big deal now. I mean, you're a 6 year old get into a car crash and it could be quite traumatic for many reasons that I will not likely go into at this in this video. However, trauma. Trauma as a child. Um, Parenting may not have been the best. There might have been some pros, it's not like life is just absolutely terrible, but we may not even have some awareness through these traumas in which we're going through that they're actually, in fact, traumas. It seems more normal than anything else, right? But again, more on the astrological point on being a Plutonian, yes, we likely can tell if we are Plutonians, maybe some form of narcissism, or the complete reverse that we're just too empathetic to others. And that's through, the conditioning and the traumas that we went through in the past. And then clearly the placements, house placements of Pluto, and the house placements of the constellation of Scorpio and the aspects. So, hope you got that 411. Hope you're taking notes. Whew. And yes, so being and having Pluto in like certain aspects with the constellation of Scorpio, I think I had said this already, but it definitely has to do with transformation. And it's be gone with the old and in and coming in and welcoming the new, right? And sometimes it'll come in ways in which we may not necessarily be so welcoming for, but it's for our good because, it's change and change is necessary for us to be better in ways and sometimes we can't understand, in ways in which words can't probably give enough justice to. But change nonetheless, and you and I are both worthy of such change, are we not? And so this is more or less a pretty quick video that I want to make of Pluto and my experience. Um, Again, my experience was more from coming from within, and there might have been some aspects that were going on through my experience, but around that time, I wasn't giving much attention to it. Um, but while I was going through my own Pluto experience consciously, uh, consciously and unconsciously. I would, because I have Pluto in the third house, so what ends up happening is a lot of communication ends up occurring and ends up being of things of death, transformation, rebirth, and such. And I would have a conversation with someone, and this is why we're enveloped in this vibration. And this vibration is, I don't want to use the word lower because I don't think that suits, but it's certainly a different vibration, and it's not like we're up here or anything, right? And so while like encompassing and embodying this vibration, hanging out in this vibration for a couple weeks, maybe a month, month and a half, I kind of lost track. Even forgot that I was doing that. I would experience strange phenomenons, phenomenons in which, because Pluto is in Scorpio in the third house, I would receive these communicative areas in which like death is occurring. I'll talk to a friend or a colleague or associate, and they'll say something along the lines of like me doing something and not realizing how it triggers them. And they will talk to me about how it triggers them because it reminds them of the time of their aunt or cousin who got out of jail for like 10, 20 years. They were in jail for like 10, 20 years and they got out. And they unfortunately, you know, uh, got involved with, hurting someone, killing someone, murder and such, right? The uncomfortable topics in which people either get really gravitated to or we end up just avoiding due to our own feelings and how we might feel about that. And so things like that would start occurring with me, and I would be observant of it. And through that experience, I would realize I would actually have my own feelings to it, depending on how I wanted to respond to that. Sometimes I would respond outwardly, meaning like I wanted to be more encouraging in the form of like embodying this transformation and giving a good note to what would consider a bad situation because there's things we can learn from that, and in situations like that make us better, so for the next person such things are not can be completely avoided um, if they were simply, we were there at the right time to display and communicate to them. um, But more or less, circumstances like this would end up happening to me. Things such as that. I would start drinking coffee much more often. I felt like drinking coffee made me feel more unconscious, and I would get more into like this sort of trance state of mind, and it would just more encompass this energy and more of these phenomenons in which allowed me to release some emotions that I was carrying, and some of them I understood. Some of them were a little more complicated, and it seemed like it was much more deeper than possibly even this lifetime. And so I had to like allow these emotions to pass on my part with all that I was going through. And this was me just going to work on a daily basis while still embodying this energy. And I will admit it was pretty fun until until at one point it's like, hey, I should probably stop because maybe this is a little too addicting, and I should balance myself out. But more or less, my experience was really nice, and this is turning into like not only like an astrological placement for you, but speaking from my experience for me, I guess it wasn't so bad. It was pretty nice. It was transformative in some ways, and I feel like I've changed in ways that I can't explain, but at the same time of that, I now have like a better idea of like boundaries and such. I don't feel because I won't describe myself as the more narcissistic type. I would describe myself, at least in the past, someone who might not understand the boundaries between my needs and the needs of others. And through a little bit of that experience helped me understand that and just be more consciously aware of these boundaries. And interesting enough how sometimes, transforming is not like in this manner where I'll just like I can be Superman. It's sometimes it's transforming to the sense of understanding you can be Superman at the right moment at the right time and not to overextend yourself so now you are suffering at the expense of helping somebody else. And so that's been a lot of what I've been taking on, and some lessons I've learned through this process of being in this month and a half possible long trance, and I'm kind of like embodying this energy. And I'm pretty sure there's so much more that I can go into, but I would likely have to go back into that energy and be able to kind of like prick it point by point. And when I say prick it, I mean like pickaxe it and like pull out some gold right here and then another platinum and then some emerald. And yeah, but more or less for you guys, it is a placement, and I think it's a necessary placement because again, it is a transformation. And when you walk away from such experiences, you come back anew. And of course, you come back better. You come back better. I could promise you that. From my perspective, yes, you come back better. But again, guys, if you guys are ever looking to converse about, astrological placements, simply just want to talk about it, I do offer some services. These services, it's about self-awareness, astrological placements to understand yourself too, and more or less self-awareness. Because the more self-aware we are, well, you can't be self-awareness. Anyways, guys, appreciate you for listening to this spontaneous video I made, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.